So to begin with, just lie yourself down on your backs for now. You might want to have a block or something where you can rest your hands on if the floor seems a bit far away, because we will move a fair bit, and sometimes it would be nice to just lean a hand down somewhere as a gentle support. So moving from or bringing awareness to some of the darker spots that lie within ourselves, and that you could take that physically, you can take that emotionally or mentally, or however you feel is appropriate for you today. We've got Zeni lighting us up as well, snoring away likely while we're practicing. So we're beginning lying down on the backs and in a fairly comfortable position. Now, when we have a thing that we don't want to look at, of whatever sort that might be, it could be really, really very simple. And please don't dive into any of these dark corners as much. Maybe just scratching on the surface. And it could be that you're feeling something in the physical body right now. To bring in a light is such a relief in any situation, and particularly in the one that we are in right now. Bringing in this energy of spring where we can grow new things, where we can shine light back onto all of this dark stuff that we accumulated during winter. So to begin the practice with, I'll ask you to simply breathe. To take in deeper breaths through the nose. And for the first ones, if you feel that gives you some release, sigh. Allow sighs to escape the mouth. And you might start with some quiet ones, or you could hop in straight into big, noisy sighs if your environment allows you to. So taking these deeper breaths in and releasing the breath out just for now, so you can get a sense of what does that do for me? What does that have to offer? I often sigh. And even if I just noticed I was holding my breath for a moment, it doesn't have to be a serious sigh that you're releasing of, but maybe a bit of tension that you feel in the body. And with that, reconnecting to the way that you are breathing. And over the time, you might feel ready to release the sighing and just breathe. And to feel the air moving through the nostrils. Maybe you're outside, maybe you've got a window open and you can feel the fresh air coming in and the beautiful scents that we can smell at the moment, with everything flowering, springing back into life. So allowing yourself maybe to even structure your breath into full yogic or ujjayi breath as you breathe into the belly, the lower rib cage, up to your collarbones, and out from belly to your ribs, to your collarbones. Allowing each breath now to flow from belly to ribs to collarbones, in and out of your nose. Establishing a comfortable pattern, but that pattern still being expansive. So we need to make room for light if we want to bring it into our bodies, our minds. But we're also, with each out breath, releasing some of that dark stuff, the things we don't need anymore, or that we had even forgotten about and pushed out to the side, cluttering us up. So keeping a full yogi or ujjayi breath going. And I even encourage you now to take a breath in to a count of about 4 more, if that suits you. And then hold the breath Just for a count of 2 is okay for now. And then breathing out for a count of 4 or longer, whatever you've chosen for your in-breath. Nothing more. Just breathing in for your count, maybe pausing the breath within the body for a count of 2, and then slowly exhaling again. So keep doing so for a few more breaths. And then if you choose to, you can bring in some movement of your arms. Now, I will leave even the arm movement up to you. I'll give you 2 options for it. You can leave your legs out long or resting over your support if you have one, or step your feet onto the ground. One option is to take a breath in, and if your shoulders allow, reach the arms all the way up over the head. Then pause there for this count of 2, and then breathing out and releasing the arms back down by the sides. So that's one option. The other option is to circle the arms out and around until they reach up above the head, like drawing the sun around you, still holding for the count of 2, and then breathing out, moving the arms out and back down along the side of the body. So arms don't have to be straight at all. You could have a soft bend in the elbows just to accommodate for the movement. Keep moving your arms in the way that suits you best, and keep your breathing pattern of breathing into 4 or more, holding for 2, and breathing out for your same count. Keep doing so for another 3 breaths. And also imagine that light and space that you're drawing in and what you're releasing off. And that could be just simply a grayish dark color. Doesn't have to be anything specific. Once you have completed your 3 breaths, we will remove any blankets from above. You can keep a thin cushioning under the head, but also removing that is underneath your knees if there's anything at all. Again, legs can be out long or feet on the ground, whichever you prefer. As you breathe in, bringing your right knee softly over your chest. And as you're breathing out, give it a hug in towards your body. Now let's continue the arm movement, breathing in and extending the leg upwards. Holding again for this count of 2. And as you're breathing out, bending the knee again and hugging it back in towards the chest. You can continue that for 2 more, or you can even add on the out breath a lift of the nose towards the knee. 1 more. Then releasing the upper body down if it was lifted, stepping your foot down onto the ground. Let the knee fall out if you want to. Extend the leg and slide it back out long. Let's do the same on the other side. As you next inhale, bring your left knee in towards the chest. And then give it a squeeze on your exhale. Let's bring arm movement and breath back in. While you're inhaling, reach the arms over the head, extend your leg, pause for a count of 2. And as you're breathing out, hugging your knee back into the chest. Keep going for 2 more, and once more the option of actually lifting your nose up towards the knee as you're exhaling. Once you've completed your last round there, stepping your foot back onto the ground, and if you would like to extend the leg, let the knee fall out to the side and then sliding the leg out long. Just noticing how you're feeling now. And you can then choose to keep your legs long and rise up to sit using your core, or you can bend your knees and roll over to your side. If you want to use your core, exhale, lifting the upper body and rising up to sitting. Coming into an easy pose. If you like to use your block, you could place that underneath if that feels right. Let's take a breath into the count of 4. Reach your arms out and up. And if this doesn't suit your shoulders, please feel free to lift them over the front. Pause here, seated mountain pose. And then breathing out as you're placing your fingertips lightly behind you. Breathing in for a count of 4 as you're opening your heart, maybe your throat. Pause for a count of 2. Then lift yourself up for a count of 4. Breathing in for 4 as you're lifting the arms up high, pausing in your seated mountain for a count of 2. And while you're breathing out for a count of 4, and you don't have to follow my words, just follow your breath, placing the fingertips down in front. As you're breathing in, find length in your spine, holding there for 2. And as you're breathing out, sliding the hands forward into a forward bend. Walking your hands back in and up towards you using the full count of 4. Pausing here in your seat, holding your breath. And as you're exhaling, just swapping the leg you have in front, if there is one, and your legs aren't extended. Let's breathe back in for a count of 4, reaching up into a mountain pose. Pause your breath for 2. Exhaling again, hands or fingertips as you're counting your length, landing behind you. Breathe in for 4, open chest, maybe the throat. Pause for 2. Use your core when you're ready, lifting up for the length of your out breath. Inhaling again for 4 as you're reaching the arms up for mountain. Holding there for 2. And while you're breathing out, releasing the fingertips down in front. Lengthen through the spine as you're inhaling and hold your breath. And as you're exhaling, slide or walk the hands down into a forward bend. I will ask you now to breathe in for 4 and lift up onto all 4s. And you might have to remove a block, holding there for 2. And then breathing out as you're sitting back towards your heels for a count of 4. So it's more important that you're breathing in slowly as you're rising back up and lifting your heart and tail. Pausing for 2. And then breathing out for your usual count. So we're still moving quite slowly. I will ask you to tuck the toes under next, breathing in as you're lifting tail and gaze. Pause your breath for 2. Breathing out and rounding into the cat. While you keep this pattern going, you can soften the elbows lightly on the inhalation, creating a bit more space in your front. Don't forget the pause of the breath if it's available to you, and the extra option of lifting the knees just a tiny bit off the ground for your cat. But do lower them back down as you're inhaling again, pausing the breath. And on the exhalation, once more, the option of lifting the knees a little bit off the ground. Releasing all of this for another in-breath. Holding. Untuck the toes and breathe out to sit back towards your heels. Breathing in as you're rising up onto your knees, the arms reaching out and up, pausing here for a count of 2. As you're exhaling, landing your hands back down onto all fours. Inhaling now, leaning forward towards a kneeling plank. Pause the breath. Exhaling to slowly lower. Use the full length of this breath. Inhaling, lifting up for cobra, count of 4. Holding the breath. Exhaling to release to the mat. Take your time, keep your breathing pattern. Inhaling, coming to all fours. Hold. Exhaling, rounding back into a child's pose. Let's do that again. Breathe in as you're lifting up onto your knees, arms reaching up. Hold. Breath out as you're landing the hands down onto all fours. Breathing in to come into a kneeling plank. Hold. Breathing out to lower. Inhaling, lifting for cobra. Hold for 2. Exhaling, moving back into the extended child's pose. I will ask you to roll your spine up, just to either sit or to stand on your knees. I would love to change the breathing pattern now. So if you can comfortably sit on your heels, please do so. Otherwise, stand with me on your knees. So it stays the same, but instead of holding the breath, we're now trying to sip up a little bit more breath. Let's see if that works. Breathing in for your usual count. Sip up another breath. And then breathe out for your usual count. We'll have 2 more before we bring that into our movements. Breathing in. Another sip of air. Then breathing out. So there's still a full breath in. But then another bit of air. And then breathing out. Let's come back to our movement. Breathing in. Sip of air. Breathing out. Hands to the ground. Breathing in. Kneeling plank. Sip of air. Breathing out. Cobra, breathing in, sip of air, breathing out, breathing in, sip of air, breathing out to child's pose. Let's do that one more time. Rising up, breath in. Sip of air, breathing out, all fours. Breathing in, kneeling plank, sip of air. Breathing out to the floor, elbows snug by the sides. Inhale, lift for cobra. Sip of air. Exhaling, lower. Breath in, all fours. Sip of air, tuck your toes. Breath out, modified child's pose. Inhaling, all fours. Sip of air. Exhaling, down dog. I invite you now to breathe freely, even a natural flow of breath, and beginning to move the body in a flow that feels right for you. I would love to keep this sun breath, that little extra sip of air, going throughout the practice, or at least weaving it in every now and then. But as you now start to walk your feet forward towards the front end of your mat, once you're there, breathe in for a half lift, lengthen through your spine, support with your hands, a sip of air here, then breathe out and fold. Bend your knees, rise up to stand, breathing in, sip of air, and breathing out to bring your hands down in front of the heart, releasing the arms down. Now be quite honest with yourself, as it can become quite challenging to breathe in even more air. And before you're straining or feeling dizzy about it, just step it back a notch. Maybe either just moving a bit more slowly so the breath doesn't get that strained, or just doing a little bit less with your breathing. So being aware of what is happening. Let's take the breath in, lifting the arms. Sip of air. And as you're breathing out, bend your knees and hips for a chair pose. Breathing in as you might lift your heels. Hold or sip. And a breath out to fold forward. Inhaling for a half lift. Sip of air. Exhaling, fold. Knees are bent, breathe in, rise to stand. Extra breath in. Exhaling, come into a chair pose. Inhaling, extra air. Lifting up through the heels. And as you're breathing out, folding again. Inhaling, half lift. Sip of air. Exhaling, fold. Bend your knees, breathe in, lift up to stand. Sip of air. Exhaling, chair pose. You can lift your heels already while inhaling. Extra air. And exhale, come back down into a forward fold. Breathing in for a half lift. Hold or sip. And breath out to fold. Keep your knees bent. Breathe in, rise up to stand. Extra air. And then as you're breathing out, let your arms come out to about shoulder height. Now you can choose to turn the palms up or down, your choice. If your balance is a little bit challenged today, first of all, keep your gaze steady, and otherwise you can always keep a big toe on the floor. Let's breathe in to bend the knees like in chair pose. Take a sip of air. Breathe out as you're pulling your right knee upwards. Inhale, place your ankle on top of your thigh. Sip of air. Breath out to sit that little bit lower. Lift up with your knee, your arms. Sip of air. And releasing all of this as you're exhaling. So nice and slow pace wherever you are at with it. Let's lift the arms back out to the sides. Sip of air. Bending both of your knees like in chair pose. Lifting through the left knee. Breathe in, ankle to the thigh. Sip of air. Breathe out, sit a bit lower. Breathe in, lift your knee, your arms, and land and release it all. Give your shoulders a little bit of movement, rock a bit over the feet, finding your way. We will change this and add a step back into our first lunge. Let's breathe in, lifting the arms, sip of air. Breathe out and lower like a chair pose. Lifting through the right knee and ankle to your thigh, sip of air. Breathe out and sit lower. Breathe in, lift the arms and your knee. Sip of air and a breath out. Just to step back into a lunge, the hands to the heart. Breathing in, lift it up. Sip of air. Breathing out, bring the hands to the ground. You can step down onto your knees or come into downward dog. Sip of air here. And a breath out to settle. Loosely begin to walk the feet forward to the top end of your mat. Breathing in the half lift. Sip of air. Breathing out to bend. Knees are bent as you're breathing in, lifting the arms up. Sip of air. A breath out as you release it all. Inhale, lifting the arms out to the sides. Breath out as you're bending for your chair. Lifting the left ankle up. Sip of air. Breath out, sit that little bit lower. Inhale, lift your knee, arms. Breathe in again. And as you're breathing out, step back into a lunge, your hands to your heart. Breathing in. Sip of air. Breathing out, hands to the ground. Step it back on your knees or in a down dog. Take that extra sip of air. Breathe out as you stay here. And then start to walk again. Move the body. Move it all the way back to the top end of your mat. Breath in there for a half lift. Extra sip of air. And breathing out to release. Bend your knees, breathe in, lifting up. Extra sip of air. And breath out as you bring your hands to the heart. So our starting position, for a moment, just notice how you're feeling. How, and you can release the arms if you prefer. How is this breath potentially affecting your movement or enhancing it? Maybe it is a nice anchor point for you throughout the practice. Maybe you're quite the opposite. Allowing all of this as we want to bring in this extra space and light, even if you are developing thoughts of, I can't do this, acknowledge them as being those of the darker kind and still inviting the space within. Let's breathe in, lifting the arms and the right knee. Inhale at the top of this breath again. And as you're breathing out, just stepping back into the lunge. Breathing in, raise your arms. Sip of air. Breathing out now, twist and let your arms just open as you're turning towards the front knee. Breathing in, just lift the arms, stay in the twist. Sip of air. And as you're breathing out, turning to the front and releasing the hands down. Knee can come also to the floor if you prefer. Breathing in, lifting your heart and gaze, and take another sip of air. And as you're breathing out, round and tuck your nose towards the knee. Let's do that again. Breathing in, lifting chest, throat. If your knee is off the ground, bend it after you've had that sip, and rounding nose to the knee. Let's do that again. Breathe in, open the front, sip of air. And a breath out to round. Let's plant the hands down and step back for a downward facing dog. Let your breath just go loose and be as it is. Movement is welcome or holding steady. We're taking a vinyasa from here. And your choice is to incorporate that extra sip of air, no matter what your variation is. We will breathe in for plank or kneeling plank. Extra sip of air. Breathing out to lower towards or on the mat. Breathe in, cobra or up dog. Extra sip of air. Breath out, or another full breath to return into down dog or four stance. So please notice your variations. Once more, begin to walk the feet towards the top end of the mat. Taking a breath in there for a half lift. Extra sip of air. Breathe out and fold. Bend your knees. Breathe in, lifting up. Extra sip of air. Breath out, hands to the heart or arms down by your sides. Center yourself. A few natural breaths. Acknowledging the way you are. And let's move again. Breathing in. Sip in air. Breathing out. Just folding forward. Breathing in. Half lift. Sip of air. Breathing out to fold. Allow yourself just to be here in this forward bend for a moment. Your breath to flow naturally, and you might take a hold of the opposite elbow, and you might bring in a sway from side to side. Ideally, your belly is in contact with the thighs, no matter how deep you need to bend your knees for that. And really just allowing some length. Once the swaying stops, gently rocking maybe the upper body a bit forward and back. Then let your hands fall. Wait for an out breath and curl yourself up. Use, as usual, your lower abs to come into standing. Breathing in, lifting the arms and the left knee. Extra sip of air. Breathe out, hands to the heart for your lunge. Inhale, lifting up, extra air. Breathe out, twist towards your right, arms reaching out. Stay within this twist as you inhale to lift the arms. Extra sip of air. And as you're breathing out, releasing the hands to the mat. Stepping back again for down dog or your all four stance. And once more, coming through your personalized vinyasa with this extra sip of air. So inhale, come forward to your plank variation. Breathe in that little bit more. Exhale and lower on or towards the mat. Breathe in for your back bend. Extra sip of air. Breathe out to either down dog or add another full cycle of breath. We'll meet again on all fours or in downward facing dog. Just breathing naturally. Nothing else there to do. Walking your feet to the top end of your mat. When you arrive, breathe in, lengthen the spine forward. Breathe in a bit more. Breathe out and fold again. Knees are bent. Inhale, lifting up to standing. Extra sip of air. And a breath out to bring the hands down to the heart or by the sides. Always taking these short pauses in between just to check in with yourself. Now, as you breathe in, lift your right knee again and your arms. Sip of air. Exhale and step back into a lunge. In breath, reaching up. Sip. Exhaling to twist. Inhaling to reach forward. Take another sip. And as you're breathing out, bring your elbow to the outside of the knee or the forearm to the thigh. And you might touch your hands together and get quite deep into the twist. If you're feeling wobbly, you can ground your right heel to the floor. Allow your breath just to be here for another few breaths. Then releasing both hands down to the mat. Heel might be lifted. Step the foot back. At your vinyasa, remember if you can, at the top of the inhalation, breathe in that little bit more. Breathing out as you lower. After each breath in, just a bit more into the body. And then finding your way back to all fours or down dog. Breathing freely or ujjayi breaths, whatever you're used to. Let's lift the right leg up. Extra sip of air. On the out breath, aim to bring your right foot forward between your hands. Come up onto your fingertips, and if you need to, you could have a block here at the front. Hop the back foot in or just lift it off the ground. Keeping your length in the spine. We'll let go of this breath for a moment. As you breathe in, bend your left knee towards the chest. And as you're breathing out, kick the leg back. Breathe in, bring the knee towards the chest. Kick it out. Few more, breathe in. 2 more. And as you breathe in, bend the knee again. Landing your shin down onto the ground. Hands can be behind, or you can float yourself down to sit. While you've got your right foot sitting in front of you, embrace the right knee, pull yourself up tall. Swinging your left hand, fingertips behind, and your right arm to the inside of the right knee. You can even take a pistol grip of your right big toe. Finding an open twist as you inhale, and as you're exhaling, using some pressure of arm and leg against each other to maybe take you deeper into this twist. Now, if you like, and this is absolutely optional, you don't have to do this at all, you could take a breath in and extend your right leg while maintaining this twist. If you would like to, could you then step the foot across to the outside of the knee? Again, only an option. We will now change our position. So let's lift the arms, swirl them around, embrace the knee, and place your right hand fingertips behind to twist. If you would like to go further, you can reach maybe for the other big toe, give that a pistol grip, and your arm would be on the outside of the leg. Going a bit deeper with the exhalation into your twist. Then release. As you bring your hands around, stack your knees and come to the front end of the mat into a forward fold. Bending your knees, breathe in, rising up, a sip of air and a breath out to release your hands. Let's do that with the left leg. Breathing in, lifting the arms and the left knee. Sip of air. Breath out as you step into your lunge. Inhale, reaching up. Breathe in that bit more. Breath out and come into open arm twist. Now, as you inhale, reaching forward, sip of air, and then your elbow to the outside of the knee or the forearm to the thigh, hands might touch, and we're pausing in a deep twisted lunge, or side angle pose revolved if you place your foot completely onto the floor behind you. We're releasing the hands down to the mat, retreating into downward dog, or fours, your other choice, and then come through vinyasa. Take it slow. Remind yourself of this extra sip of air as you're breathing in, and then a little bit more. Taking your time to return when you are ready to down dog or all fours. allowing your breath to flow in either the pattern you have chosen that feels easy or just normal breathing in and out. Lifting the left leg up, breathing in, sip of air, and the breath out to bring the foot forward. Now, the same here, I invite you to come up onto the fingertips or use a block there to support. Hopping the back foot in or lifting it straight off the ground. Find length in your spine as well as in the leg. And as you're next inhaling, bring the knee to the chest. And as you're exhaling, you might flex the foot and kick back. Inhale, knee to the chest. And 2 more. As you bend your knee back in towards the chest, now placing the shin down onto the ground with or without the use of your hands coming down to sit. Pull yourself up on your left knee, and the foot might just stay there right in front of you. We will then take the right hand fingertips behind, and you might bring your arm to the inside of the knee, potentially pistol gripping your big toe. Now start your twist on the inhalation. Breathe in a bit more. And as you're breathing out, deepen this twist. You can pause here, breathe normally. And extra option from there is to extend the left leg while maintaining your twist. For those of you who want to twist more deeply to the other side, place your foot to the outside of the knee. Swirl your arms around only to embrace the knee. Top of the inhalation, do that bit extra, and then twisting again while you're breathing out. If you want to take it deeper, you might take a pistol grip of the other big toe and go from here. We will slowly release the arms as well as the legs towards the front. Give them a little bit of a movement. I'm inviting you to bring your right knee in, and maybe even the foot comes off the floor. Hug it in quite close towards your body. Now open your knee out towards the side. You can take a hold here of the foot with the opposite hand, maybe taking the other hand around your knee. And if you want to go deeper, it would be the elbow. If you want to go really deep, you would wrap your whole lower leg into your arms. Make sure that your ankle joint is active, so that the ankle doesn't collapse while we're rocking the baby. And of course, a loving gaze at your right leg. So while we might keep or use this to place the ankle on top of the thigh or even into the hip crease for a half lotus pose, this remains optional. Alternatively, place the foot to the inside of the left thigh. Lengthen while you're breathing in, sip of air, and then as you're breathing out, slowly folding. Left leg could be bent or straight. Please listen into your back. Stay with the forward bend and bring your awareness now more to the out breath. Utilizing the out breath, maybe with that light mula bandha or pelvic floor activation. After your next breath, walking your hands back, Let's extend the right leg, give it another little shake, and we will change sides. So let's bring the left knee into the chest. Give it a good squeeze up towards your body, maybe even the foot off the ground. And you can then choose to grab the foot, your hand on the knee, your elbow grease into the knee, or wrapping the whole leg up. Please make sure that this isn't happening, that collapsion of the ankle joint. Flex it actively, then rock your baby. Loving gaze at your leg. They really deserve some attention. They've been carrying you on all of these walks. And then as you release that again, the option of placing the foot up onto the thigh or in a half lotus or against the leg. Come to your fingertips while you're lengthening on this in-breath. And then as you're breathing out, fold it. Stay here more with the awareness of your exhalation and that optional slight activation of Mula Bandha. Make sure you're releasing Mula Bandha though while you're breathing in. One more breath. And then walking your hands back up to sit. Extending both legs, give them a little shake. If you're feeling not the hottest today, we will get there today, but maybe put your jumpers on, gather your things for relaxation. And we will make our way down onto the ground. If you like, lift the arms and roll down slowly. If you prefer to be supported, have your hands or arms on the ground as we lower down onto the mat. We'll repeat one movement before coming into Shavasana. So I recommend to step the feet down on the ground and adjust your back so you're feeling quite comfortable. We will return to this sun way of breathing. As you're lifting the legs up, the arms coming over the head. Another sip of air. And as you're breathing out, give both knees a hug in. We'll do that 2 more times. Breathing in, extending arms, legs to the ceiling, sip of air. And if you like now, you could lift your nose up towards the knee. Once again, breath in, sip of air. And a breath out to give the knees a hug. Releasing the upper body down, stepping your feet onto the floor. And this is a good time now to prop yourself up, get a bolster underneath the knees or extend the legs out. Whatever you usually do or rather prefer now at this moment. Let the arms fall away from the body, let the shoulders soften, and let us allow the body to come to rest. If your mind easily wanders, keep thinking about the light that comes in with every breath in. And all that you're releasing on each out breath, however gentle these breaths might be. This release is very dark card with all of the clouds and the rain. Still had the sun trying to poke through in the background. This is about personal responsibility and release of blame. It is time to clear the debris and move on. You cannot move forward while you continue to hide. In this silence and stillness, you might be able to hear yourself. Allowing all that there is within you that you might be hiding, to be released, making room for light and new beginnings to come. Allowing yourself to deepen your breath again, to bring enough movement into the body that you're feeling able and ready to rise into a seated pose. Support yourself in this seated posture if you like, and if possible, during the process, the eyes remain closed, or you could close them again once you found your comfortable seated position. We will simply finish with this breathing practice that I was threading all the way through this class. We will do so for 3 rounds, and if you like, you can imagine that you're actually drawing a sun around you. Breathing in for 4. Extra sip of air. And breathing out for 4, releasing your arms. Twice more. Find your own pace. You breathe in for 4. Extra sip of air. And out for 4. Last round. On the out breath, the hands will come to the heart. Don't forget the sip of air. And breath out, the hands coming to the heart space. Hold them there, relax your shoulders. Inviting the softness and a very subtle smile onto your lips. And from this place, we extend to each other. Namaste.